Welcome to You Decide, the program that gives you information, facts, and analysis. My name is Shegun Johnson. How about Nigeria becoming 360 million by the year 2050? The United Nations has just informed us that Nigeria is going to increase by 200 million people by 2050. And so in 40 years' time or thereabouts, imagine Nigeria to be 360. Africa will have risen from 450 million to 1.2 billion people. We shall be talking about that. But before then, we'll be looking at issues affecting not only Nigeria, but even here. We are told that we are in drought and yet in flood. How is that possible? Is science failing us? What are the meteorologists saying? How could we be in drought and then with ban on hosepipe, and at the same time, people are dying in flood? I still can't get it around my head. But maybe you will help us out. And, well, mayoral election is tomorrow. Who are you voting for? One message I have to pass out to you is go out and vote. Let your votes be counted. And to kick off the program today, we have in the studio, of course, you know the regulars, and we having a guest coming with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome again, and I'm very proud of her. Priscilla, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Doc. Good morning.
She's been traveling all over the world. She'll be telling you more about that. We have in the studio as well Barrister Sympathy Nwosu. You recollect that he has done a lot discussing issues of political matters concerning Nigeria. He's with us here in the studio. Barrister Sympathy Nwosu.
Thank you, Dr. Morning.
Also, we have our in-house political analyst, Dr. Tunde Idowu. Tunde, you're welcome to the program.
Good morning. It's a privilege being here this morning.
Well, let's start from the beginning. That is, let's start from home here. We are told that we are in drought officially, and there was a law passed. Nobody must use hosepipe at the moment to wash cars and to do gardening, and yet people were dying in the last 3 days in flood. How do we justify that, if not that Thames Water wanted to increase the price? Don't tell me in March, when this says is the hottest March we've ever had, don't tell me in March that the meteorologists didn't see that we'll have flood in April, but they increased the water price, and by April we have flood. Is it just because of money, so that people will justify their increase in price, or is just because that was what they thought will happen? Let me tell you this one. We have been told that the GMB told us this morning that 20 reservoirs had been closed. If they had not closed them, they would have collected enough water for the rest of this nation. But when 20 reservoirs were closed, what else did you expect? Well, Thames Water replied by saying that it's not just the closure of the 20 reservoirs. It's been because the reservoirs have not been used practically. Well, let me ask my colleagues here. You think the increase in price of water in the new year we are is being justified? That's why they had to ban hosepipe and create a scenery like we really don't have water. Let me start with you, Priscilla, because you use more water than the rest of us in cooking, in washing clothes, I suppose, as a woman in the house.
Wow.
What's your reaction to this?
Well, I think is it not the usual thing that we have here in the UK, where with one hand we will say we're increasing this, and with another hand where you see that there's a decrease going on in exactly the same thing. You know, in March it was hosepipe ban, and I think the hosepipe ban was still continuing, but then April has been the wettest April we've had
since 1910
on record. You know, yeah. I love the fact that we always keep record in this. You know, we've had the wettest April, but then, you know, the water companies will now tell you that they've been investing in technology, they've been investing in ways to get this water, that the rainfall from, you know, the reservoirs and treat it and all of that to make it more consumable, and then getting it to your houses, and that those are the things that are costing more, and therefore they are being forced to have to up the price. But then, you know, when you look at it logically, the layman looking at it,
so
would say,
do you think we have used less of water in the kitchen now? or in the bathroom?
Well, I think people generally probably do, because in most homes, especially the new homes that are built, they have water meters. And you know, if you're having water meter and if you're watching how much water you're paying for or using, naturally you would want to keep that down. So I think people
Barrister
will probably
Owusu,
be using
Africans
less.
tend to use more water than the rest of the world. I remember when I was a student in France, I was told in my hotel where I was staying that I should only take my bath twice a week. But Africans take bath, if not twice a day, at least once a day. What's your reaction?
Well, Doctor, thank you. I don't think there's any hidden agenda in the announcement of a ban on hosepipe use. March, we saw the driest March on record. And now this is April. We are having the You see, one thing we have to look at in order to determine whether or not the Thames River Corporation are trying to play games is the fact there's no compulsory usage of meter or installation of meter.
But they want to do that.
Yes, most homes don't have meter.
That's right.
The new homes do have. Understand? So in a nutshell, I think what is happening is just nature. Nature decided to give.
As a lawyer, can I sue them?
I don't think you can see anyone. March was dry, April is wet. It's nature, it's natural. There's nothing we can do about it.
Today, April showers Mayflower. What do you say?
I think, if I can just follow from where Barrister left it, I think there are so many uncertainties in weather and in climate. You know, there's a sort of a changes in the climate, what we call the climate change. Nobody, even the meteorologists, can 100% certain that it's going to rain at a particular point, at a particular day, or in a particular location. What has happened is because of the distribution of where the rain has been falling. In most of the southeast, where the ban on the hosepipe has been, there has been a drought, especially in Kent and in Sussex area. Definitely, one has to think about how you manage the resources.
Okay. Today, may I ask you, as an analyst, do I now reduce the amount of water I drink just to help the system? Because I don't understand.
No, I think it would be unwise for anybody to advise you to reduce the intake of the water you drink.
Well, you had an experience you were telling us before we came onto the set. What's this experience?
Yeah, my experience was that I took my car for servicing MOT, and after finishing everything, I went to collect the car. And the woman told me that the service station cannot, wash my car because there has been an hosepipe ban in the area where
How
I
many
live.
days ago?
That was yesterday.
and it rained the whole of yesterday. It rained the day before.
And she advised me to take the car back as soon as the hosepipe ban is lifted.
Oh my God, in 7 months' time,
I don't know.
I've come to wash my car.
But the point is, the hose ban does not include you using your bucket to wash your car.
So, yeah,
So that's what I find
you
interesting.
can fetch water from a
A
bucket.
bucket, as long as you don't use hose pipe.
As long as you don't use hose.
But there's a bigger question here in terms of not just how we use water here in the UK, but water resources and water resource management politics in some other parts of the world. Like, for instance, in the Middle East, water is a political issue between the Israelis, the Arabs, what is happening in Sudan and every other places in some parts of the world. And the politicians and administrators all over the world are now coming together to ensure that there's a sustainability of water. Because the population is growing, unfortunately, the amount of rain we are getting is decreasing.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. It's only Africans do use. I believe it's not yet statistically proven, but I think we take bath more than the rest of the world. And maybe I know that one because
You
we
know that
get
for sure.
sweaty and we do
Really?
take bath twice a day. And I've had an experience in Europe, like I told you. My landlady said you can only take a bath twice, and I have to look for alternatives. Don't look at me and think, he didn't take his bath. Well, that's Euro for you. One more thing before we talk about Nigeria. Because we have very serious issues to discuss about Nigeria today. Let me just tell you before we go to Nigeria, one thing we want to discuss about Nigeria. There are 2 dangerous jobs in Nigeria to do today. 2 jobs you don't want your children to do in Nigeria today. 1 is to pastor a church. 2 is to be a journalist. We'll come back right to that. But before we go to that, we've been told that the United Kingdom has got the weakest necks in the whole of Europe, because there has been a 70% rise in whiplash, leading to an increase of £90 per average per annum on insurance. The slightest touch of a bumper to bumper leads to whiplash, and they collect a couple of grand and they travel abroad for holiday. And have you experienced that one? Have they really hit you, or you just pretend? Barrister Nwosu, have you got cases where people come and say, my neck, and this has led to increase in the amount we pay for insurance in this country?
Unfortunately, I'm not a personal injury lawyer.
Okay, but do they make money?
Yes, I know it does happen, and people do claim. But because I haven't done it, I'm not a personal
You've
injury
never
lawyer.
been hit before?
No, I don't drive.
Oh, you don't drive?
No.
So you've never had whiplash
I've never
before?
bought a car in my life. I don't like cars.
You don't like cars?
They take you where you don't want to go.
I want you to be very sure of what you're saying on camera.
Yes,
because
yes, I
people
don't-
are looking at you and say,
I've never
sympathy,
bought a
I
car.
know you.
I've never bought a car in my life.
And if anybody knows if you bought a car, should come up and say,
Yeah.
I'm going to give them the telephone number.
I don't drive.
How about
I've
your
never
family?
driven in. Yes, my wife drives. I don't drive. Whatever she does with her car, that's her business with whiplash and all that. But the fact is that I've never had any issue with personal injury claim.
Yeah.
I'm a solicitor. I deal with criminal matters and all that, but I don't deal with
You
personal
don't deal with
injury.
what's the experience, Priscilla, in London? Most people, they said 70% of us have increased on whiplash, and then as soon as we have a dent, and then we talk of the neck and the right hand or the left arm, and people are claiming money, and it's affecting the rest of the society because we all have to pay a higher premium.
It's whiplash in itself, when it actually does happen, it is a terrible thing when it happens to you. I've experienced it myself. I remember this would have been over 10 years ago. I was just sitting at the traffic light in Greenwich, and this woman just runs into the back of me. It seemed like nothing. I just jerked forward, and, that was it.
Then you went to the GP?
But days later, my neck, my back, my arm, it was challenging. I struggled with it for quite some time. I remember having to go to and fro to the doctor and all of that. But then, there are others who have seen this as something that they can just jump on and make money from. So then, there are organized people that actually get together. I actually heard a story this morning of some group of people that worked with a bus driver. They had an agreement with the bus driver that, they paid him to get on the bus. And they all got on the bus, and apparently they arranged the accident, so there was a crash with the bus, and they all claimed whiplash. So, people are out there using this as a means of making money. It's unfortunate, but then the rest of us are suffering. I mean, what can we say?
Did you collect money in your own case?
Ultimately, I did, yes, because, it
But
was...
you won't tell us how much.
That was so many years ago.
Okay, today, what's the experience of this one?
Yeah, I think I'm not like Barrister Nwosu. Neither am like
Priscilla.
I'm in between. I drive cars, but I've never experienced whiplash.
Okay.
I think that
Has anybody, have you hit anybody before?
well, no, I've not. I'm a very careful driver.
Is it because of the money, that's why you're careful?
No, not because of that, because I believe in respecting the rules. You see, one of the things that one has to appreciate is that the rules are there for something.
Yeah.
When they say the maximum speed is 30, you have to understand why the maximum speed in this area is 30 and it is not 35. It's because to protect the kids in school, is to protect yourself, as a driver, and to protect the passengers.
Okay.
And I've been driving for how many years, but I've never
From
had
your
a accident.
experience coming from Nigeria, if you think that kind of law should be in Nigeria, how many people will collect for whiplash?
Well, I mean,
the way they bash cars in Nigeria.
I mean, just
And, have you ever seen any car in Nigeria not bashed?
Well, I think because of the fact that in Nigeria, there are maybe 2 or 3 things that one needs to take account of. Number one, I'm not sure about how properly regulated the driving regime is in Nigeria.
It's as regulated as England, I can assure you.
Yeah, but
according to the written rules.
According-
Forget about applied law.
according to the written rules,
Yeah.
based on your own personal experience, but other people will tell you that to get a driving license in Nigeria, all you need to know is to know somebody that knows somebody that knows
Yeah, that's
somebody.
unwritten.
Yeah, that is unwritten. No, but it has an impact in terms of the driving culture. Because if you have not been to the driving school and then somebody just take you on the road
Or driving
2 or 3 days,
exam.
or driving experience, then definitely you are going to hit somebody, or somebody is going to hit you because you have not learned the basics of driving, which is very, very important. That's number one. Number two, then the insurance regime or system in Nigeria, I don't know, most of the time people are only insured for third parties, and here most of the time people are insured for comprehensive, because you have to think about the cost of replacing not just only the cars of the third party, but your own car as well. So there are so many things that
you think this could work in Nigeria? Because at a slight dent here, everybody has a whiplash. But in Nigeria, every car has got a dent. You think insurance companies will not pack up that way?
Insurance companies in Nigeria wouldn't pay.
Why do you say they don't pay?
Exactly.
They operate within a law, don't they?
No, they wouldn't pay because the bureaucracy in getting payment in Nigeria is so high and rigorous that most people will just give up.
That's right.
Understand? And the whiplash law, here they call it the ambulance chasers.
That's true. Yeah.
Some lawyers just say, whatever happens, come. The personal injury lawyers. But in Nigeria, I don't think it will work.
It can work in Nigeria. It's not that. Let us take away the mindset that nothing cannot work in Nigeria. Things can work in Nigeria if people are making it to be working.
I'm sure it does, because I've seen insurance companies in existence, and for them
in Nigeria,
yes, they must have customers. But the other thing I was going to say is that the other aspect of this thing that makes it so terrible, the rise has gone up because as many people that have reported, not only have they reported, but they also have medical professionals who are willing to write those false reports to say that this person actually has whiplash when they don't. So they're all in it on, it's like a criminal, gang that are all working together to ensure that this money is taken. Okay. Otherwise, the level wouldn't be bumped up. If the medical professional will say, actually, because you have to be examined. They have to examine you, and they have to see
there are many
more than
professions making money.
Oh, naturally.
The personal injury lawyer, the doctor,
the mechanic.
The mechanic.
They have to repair the car.
They have to repair the car, and then the person claiming the money. And only the person groaning is the insurance company. But
they are also making money.
That's the point. Should we really sympathize with the insurance companies because they transfer it to the rest of us who have never claimed?
On that basis, we should be concerned, because when you consider that, I mean, I know some people that used to pay £300 fully insurance, for instance, a couple of years ago. Then there was the whole crashing thing. But now insurance is so bumped up that £300 that I once enjoyed, I'm now having to pay something like 600, 700.
Okay, is that the reason why if I paid £600 last year, this new year, then I'm asked to pay £800? Why is it the car is decreasing, but the insurance premium is increasing? I still can't get it.
That could be one of the reasons.
That could be one of the reasons, but one of the other reasons why people pay more is that when your insurance is due for renewal, most of the insurance companies just increase the price anyway.
They do.
But you, as a customer, what you need to do at that point in time is to go and shop around, because the insurance company is not spending money on you as a new customer. For a new customer, they will discount it very significantly for you. So you need to shop around and say, okay, although my insurance is due tomorrow, let me go and see what other insurance provider are going to quote for me. And then you can then go back to your insurer and say that I got it from A, which is giving me 10% discount. Now,
are you ready to do the same?
Are you ready to do the same? Because they're insuring your car. They're only insuring the same product anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
Okay, but the problem is if you own a house and you change the insurance every year, you own a car, you change the insurance every year, then at a point you just forget whether you are, what insurance you are. By the time you've done it in 3 years, you really wonder, where am I, who is my insurance, who is my car insurance, who is my home insurance, who is my content insurance. You forget who is...
No, you need to be disciplined in terms of your bookkeeping. That is what they call bookkeeping and record keeping. You need to be able to show that your insurance, your medical, your car, your house, your mortgage, everything.
Every year you are changing them.
Yeah, because there's a paper trail that you need to keep in file. You have to open a file.
Okay. because
it's very important that you do go and shop around. And what I've found as well, that it's so strange. Once upon a time, if you took out a comprehensive insurance, you knew that it covered you. You would get a car, you would get whatever. Nowadays, everything is broken up. They will now ask you, do you want
Do
us
you
to
want-
give you a car? If we that, then it's extra
Yes,
£2.
it's-
If we have to, if we legal cover, and they will tell you legal cover is £25 for the year, but then as soon as you add it, it bumps up another £100, and you're thinking,
And then
how
they
did
say,
that work?
Priscilla, then they say total X amount plus £2.50 if you are paying by credit card.
I'm
If you are
telling
paying by
you.
debit card, it has no £2.50.
So you can, I mean, not to say that, you want the criminals to do what they do, but you can see why some people feel that they should just go ahead and
Is
do
this
that.
as a result
Because
of
it's-
cashless society? Because they can just take your money without you seeing it, which Nigeria is trying to do now. Because Nigeria has to start thinking of cashless society. They are in it, but then all these things.
But that's the transaction cost. I mean, whether the credit card or the debit card, they have to sort of.
But debit card is 0%, is zero. But while credit card is £2.50.
The difference between a debit card and the credit card is that for debit card the money is already there.
Yes.
So they are taking the money right away.
Yes.
For the credit card you might not have the money, so somebody is borrowing you the money to pay for that particular
It's
transaction.
not their business because I'm the one going to pay on the borrowed money, not the business of the one who is collecting the money.
Yeah, but at least they have to justify certain things to run the business.
They
But
are
then-
justifying thievery.
It's just policy, just company policy.
But there's one important point I want to highlight in terms of record keeping, because I got a letter for one of these insurance, something, in one of my mortgage, and they said that this PP claim, something
PPI.
like that, PPI claim, and then I have to go back 10 years in terms of, at that time I took the mortgage, how much insurance did I pay for it, and they refunded me £150 for me. I'm still waiting for the money. Anyway.
£150.
Yeah, £150.
People are taking £3,000-4,000. Why?
Yeah, but the reason why I highlighted it was that if I had not kept the record,
Okay.
10 years ago of what really happened, the insurance, how much I paid and things like that. If now they wrote to me and I've not been able to prove that I was the owner or the party to
That you
that.
actually,
yes,
paid that
then they will not be
insurance.
able to give me that £150.
But Priscilla, £150 is not enough to go and visit Tunde at home. I thought
It may not be, but then when you consider, I think getting something back is better than getting nothing
Nothing.
back. So, when you consider what they take from you, everything that they give you back, it's
I
better
think it's a
than
lot of
nothing.
money in terms of the bank because HSBC, they kept £4 billion back that they want to use on PPI. And so it's a lot of money outside.
It is.
But then the two most dangerous jobs in Nigeria now is to be a pastor or a journalist because you can never be too sure you return. The job is getting worse and worse in Nigeria, and many worshippers went to worship at the BUK, Bayero University, Kano, last Sunday. They never returned home, including 2 professors and many lecturers, of course, students. What happened was that some miscreants went and bombed them, and as soon as they were running away from the bombs, they were shot outside. And also, in the last 7 days, this day and the son, they were bombed right while they were working, and all of them on video. If you look at your YouTube and put in Boko Haram bombing this day, you will see how the place was bombed. It was filmed live, even by those who bombed the place. Well, let me just quickly read you a few things, and then Barrister Sympathy actually called me to sympathize with me as one of the media guys, and was saying that what a dangerous job you guys are doing. But then this is what we have to do. And what is more is that they have even threatened more to bomb more media houses. But let's quickly look at the information we have. 2 professors were killed in the Sunday morning multiple blasts that rocked St. Stephen Catholic Chapel, Bayero University, Kano. It was gathered that the Dons, Professor Ayodele of the Chemistry Department and Professor Andrew Leo of the Library Department were among worshippers attacked at Theatre 2 near Sport Complex, Old Campus of the institution. A member of the rescue team who pleaded anonymity said that we have recovered 14 dead bodies so far and transferred same to Muritala Muhammad Specialist Hospital. Well, that was on Sunday. On Monday, a suicide attack targeting a senior police official's convoy on Monday has killed 11 people and wounded 20. A rescue source said, with the senior officer said to be unharmed. Police said the attack in the Taraba state capital, Jalingo, saw a motorcycle ram into the police convoy and a wave of similar violence attributed to Islamist group Boko Haram. Let me just give you one more. These are not good news, but they are the news happening around our town. This one says Boko Haram threatens fresh attacks on media, journalists. The Islamic sect Boko Haram yesterday threatened fresh attacks on the media in Nigeria, including foreign agencies and journalists, in an 18-minute video posted on YouTube. The video also showed how a suicide bomber drove into This Day newspaper office in Abuja and blew himself up, an attack which claimed at least 3 lives last week. Besides major Nigerian newspapers, the Boko Haram said it will attack the Hausa language services of Voice of America and Radio France International. An unnamed male speaker also threatened new attacks against federal government, saying security forces continue to hold the wives and children of his followers hostage. Well, based on this, T.Y. Danjuma, you remember him, the general, he had this to say. Former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma, on Tuesday in Abuja, warned that Nigeria was on fire over the activities of the Boko Haram sect. General Danjuma spoke at an event tagged A Morning of Reflections to mark the 50th birthday of the publisher of leadership newspapers, Mr. Sam Ndazaya, which was attended by key northern leaders. He said that at that gathering, of course at that gathering, there were many people like Major General Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ango Abdullahi, Alhaji Shehu Shalam, and many others. Danjuma, who chaired the event, said his alert was to draw attention of Nigerian leaders to a number of socio-economic problems facing the north, which, if unattended to, could lead to turning Nigeria into another Somalia, in which the country would be in a near state of anarchy. He said, as far as Nigeria is concerned, I'm an optimist. I tell myself each time we seem to stumble as a nation, I tell myself we shall muddle through. But in the last few months, I begin to wonder. Our house is on fire. The Somalization of Nigeria is taking place right now. We need to sit down and get to the root of the problem and find a solution to it. Let's not deceive ourselves. The chief security officer of a state is the governor. Where are northern governors? Borno is a failed state. Jigawa is almost a failed state. Kanu is threatening to be a failed state. Where on earth are we going? You hear talks about multi-million naira fences around government houses. What about the people? Ladies and gentlemen, what about the people? Fencing the governor's houses. Jigawa state failed. Kano state failing. Nigeria on fire. Where are we? Barrister, you came to give your sympathy to journalists.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. Doctor, it's regrettable. It is regrettable. What we are witnessing now as a nation is regrettable. The attack on innocent civilians, innocent people going about their daily business, the attack on This Day newspaper is an attack on democracy. It's a monumental attack on freedom of speech. And we shouldn't allow it to lie low. Now, the issue here is, what are they looking for? What is Boko Haram? Boko Haram said their meaning is Western education is bad, isn't it? Well,
Or sacrilegious.
yes. Now, that brings us to talking point. We should talk and educate these Boko Haram people to let them understand that Western education is what made them to have mosquito coil that they put in their own room to kill mosquito. Western education gave rise to fan that they used to fan their room. Western education brought the car that they drove around.
But it's more than Western education. It's economy.
Exactly. So that is what I'm talking about, what their name stands for. So someone needs to go out there and exactly talk to them. So what am I saying? We should go back to the drawing board, which is talking. There was an overture made, be it trying to...
They say they don't want to talk.
No, they said that the federal government are not sincere with their intention to talk to them. That was what they said in the media. Somebody knows somebody that knows
somebody.
Who is behind this?
Barrister, we will come and talk about this.
Yes.
Sunday and Priscilla, we'll
Yeah.
come in and we'll be asking you at home to call us and say, how do we resolve this issue? It is a very important issue. It is germane to the sustainability of Nigeria. I don't see how we can move ahead if we don't. We're going on a short break. The number will be on your screen when you call. Please write down your points, how we can move things. Barrister Nwosu just said it's time to discuss. Whether it's right to discuss or it's not right to discuss, we will want you to call and you will decide. Don't go away. Welcome back to You Decide. We were talking about Boko Haram and its real effective sacking of the Nigerian polity. We saw in the last 1 week how they have been very, very devastating. Many families are crying right now, to professors, lecturers, students, and we cannot continue like this. T.Y. Danjuma said is a failed state in the northern part especially. Priscilla, what will you, before now, we thought this thing will go. We have got so many assurances from the army, from the JTF, from the president. Now they're not even assuring us anymore. The last statement of the president was, bear with us. Can we ever go along like this?
I mean, this is not the kind of situation where you make a statement that says, bear with us, because ultimately it's a very sensitive situation that is affecting innocent people. Now, my condolences goes out to everybody that has lost a loved one, all the lives that have been lost over this, few days in Nigeria, and of course last week, and all of those that has been happening. It is devastating on the country, and it is now becoming very, very crucial that something is done, and it is no longer a case of bear with me, because we need to know exactly what is there, who is, number one, who is behind this, what is it that they're seeking, and how do we, how do we deal with the situation? Because bombing and killing innocent people has never been known to bring result. This is what I don't understand from, whoever is behind this or from wherever they're coming from. The IRA didn't ultimately get what they sought. in Northern Ireland, they had to bargain. You know, everybody, whenever you start out with a war situation, you never quite get exactly what you want. So it makes no sense to take out
The same
innocent
thing in
people.
Spain.
Say, be it in Spain, be it in the Middle East, it doesn't matter where
In
it
Spain,
is committed.
they have to come down as well.
Yeah.
Tunde, you worked in the Punch before coming to England to study for postgraduate. And Punch was the first media dimension they are going to. Now it's dangerous to be a journalist in Nigeria, and now it's dangerous to be a pastor. Those who have been complaining against pastors making money, I don't think they want to send their children to become pastors anymore now. What's your take on this one?
I mean, it's a sad story. Yesterday, I watched a program called The Hunt for Bin Laden. And one of the things that came across from that program was that it took American 10 years to get Bin Laden.
In fact, more than that.
Yeah. But at a point in time, there were a series of bombing activities. The one in, I think, in Kenya and Dar es Salaam.
Yeah.
And then the Al-Qaeda bombed USS Cole in Yemen. And there was a discussion between the FBI and CIA. But because of the fact that they did not take action at that point in time, effective action to go after the Al-Qaeda or Bin Laden at that point in time, that then manifested into September 11 action and then took another 10 years again. Now, I said that in order to say this. Nigerian leadership is taking an ineffective action. They need to know that Boko Haram has declared war. This is not a criminal activity. There's a difference between when a terrorist action is more of a criminal element and when it becomes a declaration of a state of war. The speed, the accuracy, the intensity of the action of Boko Haram and the spread of it suggests to me that Boko Haram has declared war on our Nigerian state. So the government, the presidency needs to now be talking in the language of war. One thing, that is one element of it. The question is, how do you prosecute this war? There are two ways you can prosecute war. There's sort of the military end of it, and then there's the political end of it. But it needs to send the signals. And the signal needs to be very, very clear and very, very identifiable that Nigerian state is in a state of war with the group called Boko Haram.
Today, with what you have just said and what you have seen, do you see Nigeria staying together by 2015 if we continue at this rate?
Well, if we continue, that's the big if. If Nigerian government refuses or take ineffective action, I'm not sure whether Nigeria, as a component state, will retain as we continue to exist as a single entity. And there are so many ways if Nigerians want to be divided. It doesn't need to go through wars. There are countries, example, Czechoslovakia used to be one country. They sat on a table, they dialogued, and they broke into Czech and Slovakia. Two countries now to one.
I know on the telephone to me yesterday, you were groaning and you were not happy about what is going on, the loss of lives. And especially you were thinking, how could you be a journalist, a normal job, and then what would you want to say again?
Well, what is happening is unprecedented. The Boko Haram terrorist group is, we've never had such a group before in Nigeria. And this is happening in a situation where you cannot see someone on the road and say, oh, you're a member of Boko Haram. So it becomes very difficult. Like my friend is pointing out, attack, use decisive action against who? You don't know who is Boko Haram.
Well, that's guerrilla warfare now.
Exactly. So the point we are making is, now the president is willing to talk. And they started talking before the Boko Haram called it off. Let us go back and persuade those people.
Do you think we can handle it like we did in Amnesty in Men?
Yes.
But some people have said Men and Boko Haram are not the same.
There's nothing you cannot achieve by coming around the table and discussing, talking.
But one of the things that they have said is they wanted to make Nigeria a Sharia state. How do you come and sit down and talk about Nigeria being a Sharia state?
Well, Nigeria is a state that is a plural.
see, the thing
But
is,
it's difficult, but we should go back to the talking, table. Yes, it's very
absolutely, the
important.
talking is very important.
Is,
but
do we bring money like we did in Mend? We brought money to quench Mend.
in all of these situations, all over the world, there's always some kind of money transactions. We may not hear about it, but there's always some kind of money transactions that also takes place. But what I was going to say is that even though, they're demanding for a Sharia state, if Nigeria was to be broken up, I'm not sure that the breakup of Nigeria is going to be satisfactory. I'm not sure that, dividing that country and saying, okay, take this, you want your half, take it and then leave us alone. I don't think that's going to give us peace. We're seeing what's happening in Sudan right now, South and North Sudan, or Sudan and South. It's still the same problem. There is still a civil war going on. So I'm not so sure what will be achieved in all of these actions, but it seems somewhat futile. And somebody needs to take a real,
let's listen to people who are
defined
calling
action.
in. Now, when you call in, please, we want to hear what do you think Nigeria can do. You are going to decide your future. It's now, according to T.Y. Danjuma, it's got to the point where the North is a failed state. Nobody sleeps in the North closing his eyes anymore, because you don't know where they're going to strike, and they say they're going to strike more, and they have been effective. I will advise you, go and watch YouTube and saw how this day was filmed while being bombed. But let's take a few calls. Hello, who is calling?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. This is Michael. How to consider the program?
Yes, you are on. What's your name, sir?
My name is Michael. I'm from Bank.
Okay, go on, sir.
Well, my own contribution is that if you have to say the truth to save the life of the innocent Nigerians, Nigeria is no more a one country. This thing called Boko Haram is political problem. The political leaders are using this to make sure that they achieve their program to send the government in order not to carry out proper governance. For me, the best thing is to divide our country. If possible, is to see if we have the problem in the north, we face it as a northern problem. If the north wants to come up and die to solve the problem, they do. But as long as that's what Nigeria is concerned, that is not even an achieve. It's not possible because our ethnic interest, our religious interest, our tribal interest, those things we make it. Not only for the fitness for the job, but it's just because it's on the south or from the north as well. So for me, that Nigeria is not a good. Let's go back to our roots and govern ourselves. If we don't have anything to do, we know we don't have anything to do.
But constitutionally, Nigeria is one. And you cannot just divide Nigeria like that because we have harassment by the Boko Haram. So are you saying that we should come to the conference table and say, look, let us go, we agree, we surrender? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that constitutionally, a lot of countries have been won, and they realize that that one
was not won.
That one is not working, and that they discuss on how to solve the problem. Nigeria is not won by nature. Nigeria is not won by language. Nigeria is not won by religion, and these are the things that have a lot of effect in our society. So let's come back to the table to talk about our future, and our future is to divide. Because if we have problems in our time, we can try to decide this. But the ethnic interest, the political interest is eating into our politics. Our politicians are carrying money, voting billions and billions of naira to themselves. Because they are from the north, because of the south, we cannot have a stupid politics that will change. The only reason why the Corona is leading today is because the Igbo people say no. And that no can be only seen when we are one in our country, we can speak at least one language and one interest in the religion and in our culture.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. I think your point is well made. Thank you very much. To what extent, Tunde, please help me analyze this one. To what extent is continuous corruption has led us to this point?
Well, I mean, it's a big factor, because if the infrastructures have already been there, if the people that are now the recruitment or the sergeant for Boko Haram have had proper education, whether Islamic or the Western education, whichever type, if most of the things have been in place, we are now facing the consequences, the opportunity cost of the corruption. And one of the most sad parts of corruption is that you don't see the effect immediately. it sort of have a sort of a long-time spin-off effect, and we are now beginning to see the long-term effect
To
of
reap
corruption.
what we sow.
Yeah, I mean, over, I don't know, 20, 40, 50 years, people have, it's like when you build a house, but there's a cockroach that's sleeping. At a given point in time, you'll be going to the house, but without knowing that the background or the foundation is being pulled down. Then at a particular point in time, everything will just come down. And that is what we are seeing now.
Barrister.
Now, the consequence of all this one is that not just only the security, the government cannot function properly. So it has a direct effect on the part of the governance. Direct investment cannot come into Nigeria because of all these things. So there are so many consequences of this Boko Haram stuff.
Barrister, to what extent will you zero in on corruption?
Corruption is part of it. You see, Doctor...
Is it a major part of it?
It is a major part of it. The point here is, one can sit at home and say, well, this man is educated at Lagos State University or Harvard University, and he's made a minister. Rather than him using his education as a minister to better the life of the poor, to build infrastructures, he's taking the money and banking it abroad. It's annoying. It is annoying. And this is the more reason why we should come back to the drawing board and talk. And say, look, not everybody is the same. We have to put people who will work, who will put the right infrastructure in the place. No matter where they are being educated, whether it's Islamic education or Western education, let them take the plight of the people to their heart. I hear people talking about Nigeria as a rich nation. Nigeria is a very poor nation, very, very poor. There's no money. If we are able to use the money we generate to build infrastructure, no one pound will remain in our pocket. People are putting the money in their pocket. Look at what is happening in the Senate. Look at what is happening everywhere. So one can sit at home and say, oh, is that why this man went to university? To learn how to be an accountant, so he can take all our money and pocket it.
Priscilla, what have you to add on this on corruption? Because we believe that corruption has ripped off Nigeria, corruption at every level of life, and every politician is saying Nigeria is corrupt, Nigeria is corrupt. You wonder who is really the thief when everyone is calling thief. So who is the thief? And that. But then, what do you say, Priscilla? Before I read this this memoir from Transparency International, listen to what they wrote to the president of Nigeria. Yes, Priscilla, don't let me stop you.
Well, the corruption thing is so ingrained and is so deep that the police are not effective. We have this Boko Haram issue now. The army cannot be effective. The police cannot be effective. The Secret Service cannot be effective because somebody within all of these arms of government that are supposed to protect the people, their primary job is to protect the interest of the people. But, their primary job for some of them, we find, is if I pay you, if Boko Haram is paying the higher amount rather than the state, then they are more likely to turn a blind eye to what is happening. And that is just how bad the corruption is. And, it's happening everywhere. Everybody is involved. And it's so bad because the mindsets now of even the younger children, it's about what you can get.
Yeah.
And because it's been going on for 40 years, for 30 years, for 50 years, it is now difficult for the people to understand.
What you just said, you can imagine in a place like Nigeria where there is no road sign. You see, a young lady or young man, we're talking about a boy of 10 or a girl of 10. How do I get to X street? And it says, how much do you give me if I tell you?
Exactly.
And then you wonder, what has the nation turned to? But listen to what Transparency International has to say. The Transparency International has expressed worry over the scope and speed of corruption in Nigeria. Scope and speed of corruption in Nigeria. This year, saying it is beyond what it has ever dealt with. This was revealed in an open letter to President Goodluck Jonathan by Fitch and Associates in The Hague, the Netherlands, on behalf of Transparency International. In the letter, part of which was given to Nigerian Tribune by Save Nigeria Group, the Transparency International said the scam in Nigeria at present is quite heartbreaking. It reads, the problem, Your Excellency, has to do with the rate and scale of scams and corruption proofs coming out of Nigeria in 2012. The scope and speed of corruption in your country this year is beyond anything our client has ever dealt with. When the pension scam broker, the 3 specialists working on Nigeria complained about overwork and threatened a lawsuit against Transparency International because they had to work 23 hours a day from Monday to Sunday just to cope with the figures coming out of that scam. The letter further stated that the Transparency International had to transfer country specialists away from zero or low corruption countries such as New Zealand, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Singapore, Norway, the Netherlands, Australia, Switzerland, and Canada to Nigeria to ensure that the figures were well scrutinized. Meanwhile, in their reactions to the letter, Professor Wole Soyinka and Tunde Bakare have given the federal government a 2-week ultimatum to begin the process of prosecuting indicted officials of the oil subsidy and pension scams. That's not all. You've heard about the pension scam. You've heard about the oil subsidy scam. We've been told that all these are scams and we have been ripped off. But more importantly is that in Plateau, someone was collecting salary as a commissioner. And he was getting everything as a commissioner, that he was getting his pay, he was getting his sick leave, and he's supposed to be a commissioner not appointed by the governor. And this happened in Plateau. And and we're trying to see, let me just read it. The Plateau government has expressed frustration that its efforts to curb corruption in its public service have been thwarted by workers in the state. The Commissioner for Information, Mr. Jijab, said that among the corrupt practices found in the system was the discovery of a fake commissioner in the state service. I think that is the worst. That there is a ghost commissioner, and he's claiming his salary, he's claiming everything. Now, that's not all. Corruption in Abia. This was from the government. No? It says, Governor Theodore Oji of Abia State said yesterday workers in 3 parastatals were not being paid the new minimum wage of 20,100 naira because of fictitious names on the payroll. Addressing workers at this year's media rally at Ibeku High School, Oji listed the affected parastatals to include Agricultural Development Program, ADP, State Library Board, and State Council for Arts and Culture. They said in this particular state, they're not supposed to be paying a certain number, and they couldn't even know the number. And so they not paid. So as soon as they were going to pay 21,100, millions of the workers increased. In Plateau State, they are paying 1.9 billion per month on salary, but actually the record they should be paying 900 million per month, because in states where they have 45,000 workers as against 17,000 workers, they are paying the same amount. So this is as serious as that. Well, let's take from Nigerians, because you are going to decide what is going to happen to that state. Let's take this telephone call. If you want to Skype us, please do. Good morning. Who is calling?
Hello, my name is Daniel.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, okay. Good morning, Dr. Johnson.
Good morning. Can you please turn down the volume of your telly?
Good morning, Dr. Johnson and the panel. Is he okay now?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Okay, my contribution about what all of you have been discussing is just simple and straightforward. Okay, any economic and social problem of any country has to be dealt with the political class. Okay, the first thing I want the president to do is my suggestion, and I want your panel to actually try to examine it as well. That the president should set up a panel and invite all the governors of the northern states that you have just mentioned, all the governors, and then the panel to ask them that if they want the country to survive, they have to do something about the hostility of that particular area of the country. Because they know most of their people better than anybody. And it's better for the president to actually call all those governors, whether they are PDP governors or they are AC governors or anything, just to call the governors that they should put their houses in order if they want the country to survive. Because I don't know, Dr. Johnson, some of us actually witnessed the Wild West, and we were able to find solutions. They were able to find solutions for these people, the data problem. Then we should be able to find solutions to this Boko Haram.
Well, things have changed since the Wild West.
The northern people, for the time memory, are not been welcoming the Western education. Whereas the southern people have been welcoming the Western education quite a long time.
I think it's beyond education now. It's beyond education now.
Move on.
All right,
My
thank you.
simple solution is to invite the governors of those states. To invite the governors of those states and try to tell them what can actually make us move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Invite the governors and then tell them. Danjuma said, governors, where are you?
I mean, it was good to actually hear him say that. Sorry to jump in, sir. Interesting that you know, we spoke about when they came together and said they were not getting enough money.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted more of their share of the state divide. So where are they now when human lives are being lost and their states are being called failed states and, you know, their society is in turmoil? Where are the northern governors? They should sit down and have a conversation.
Okay, let's take a Skype. Yes, someone is Skyping us. Let's take a Skype and hear from... Hello. What's your name, sir?
Hello.
Hello, we can see you. The whole world can see you.
Okay, I want to contribute something about you people talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Uzoma. I'm calling from Netherlands.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I want to contribute about what all of my brother was saying. The corruption in Nigeria is like this because there's really bad government, and people are talking about Boko Haram issue. You know, these things are releasing a lot of information which Nigerian government are not doing their job. Live here for a very long time. I'm watching news, so I try to make my own opinion. So my own opinion that the Nigerian government need to settle the teachers that teach them what all of them are as we are.
Oh, we're losing you. We're losing you. Sorry about that. Let me take this telephone call. Yes, is Vincent.
Yeah, morning,
Good morning, Vincent. What's your take on this?
look, Danjuma has repeated.
Yeah, go on, Vincent.
Yeah, Danjuma has repeated what they did to the president. Like I keep saying, the solution has been given to Nigeria people. I was about to send you an email this morning so that I will appear there next week. Solutions to all these problems is being given to Nigerian people. When I come in there next week, I will call their names. It's about time, otherwise we shall all remain in these solutions and they languish. The solutions are there, keep saying it. For instance, remove the immunity. If you remove immunity, say, if you touch anything, I will arrest you. I will tell you. But the immunity is still there, even though we are talking about corruption. Any sensible, common sense person will know that when you give me an hour, I'll take an hour. It's a simple thing happening in Nigeria. Nobody is talking. So I'm coming there next week. I'm sending you an email, but I'm coming there next week.
Yes, sir. We'll very much welcome you. We'll very much welcome you.
It's about time.
Talking about immunity, ladies and gentlemen in the studio, this is the latest from Senate. If the push by lawmakers sails through in a fresh amendment of the 1999 Constitution, the President, his deputy, all governors, and their deputies may lose immunity from prima facie criminal cases. Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution presently confers immunity on the President and governors. They say if this one comes, and it's going to become law by 2013, the Senate has said. Let us say the Constitution is amended. Then who takes the President and the governor to court? Is it not EFCC?
Why should it be 2015?
No,
Why should it be 2015?
they said 2013.
13.
Yes.
We want to start now, emergency. We want to start immediately. And they want to do separation of powers in that country. So
Yeah.
that everybody knows his duty to perform.
Okay.
This is how you do the job.
So-
Look at what is happening today with murder.
So you believe that if governors and presidents can be prosecuted while in office, that will solve the problem of Boko Haram?
Of course, Boko Haram will be happy.
Ah, that's
They will be
interesting.
happy that we are catching them.
Okay, thank you very much, Vincent. Boko Haram will be happy.
No.
Yeah.
Let's put everything in context. Whether you give the governors immunity or not, the question we have to ask is, what about those governors that are not in office now, that have been accused of corruption, are they being tried? So let us, bring clarity to most of all these issues. The issue
call. Let's hear this. Hello, who is calling? Okay.
I'm calling from Spain.
From Spain, okay. Can you turn down the volume of your TV and then go ahead?
I'm done there.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to conclude on the governor about the corruption in Nigeria.
Yes.
And so the corruption has reached a stage that every Nigerian have to, know what to do about how to cover the corruption, especially among the judicial part of the government. Because, we have the FCC, we have the SSS, we have the police, we have the judicial system of the law. But yes,
We have the ICPC.
governors understand that Nigeria was set up with this very moment. Nobody have been charged with corruption, especially under the progressive regimes. So many corruptions were under utilities. I'm not talking about that. Even the was when he was arrested, he was, he said for 2 years. The fact was released. Even the day was released. The one time, they took a visit.
Yeah, that's body judge. Okay.
Continuous supply was still. When we talk about the urgent account, the government party said, so many of them, they were removed who were just recently jailed in London. They get my education and for government have never done anything. Even to jail or to put them in prison, any of the third government.
So if even you remove that clause of the Constitution, it makes no difference.
is not the issue.
I say if you remove the clause of the Constitution that you can prosecute any governor in power, it still will make no difference.
It's not a difference, but I think the Nigerian Judicial Arm of the government has to do something because the problem is from the law. The law is very weak. The officer has to do something in Nigeria.
Yeah.
What have the years is done for the past almost 10 years that have been put in place? I've never achieved anything about corruption. Instead, the corruption is increased later.
Okay.
And again, I still have to remove immunity because I have to talk about immunity. You cannot put a criminal in a post and again give him an immunity. But how do you know I want the country to grow up? There have been so many problems in Nigeria. I think the best thing for Nigeria to do is to go back to Abdul stand because I think that agreement from Abdul is everything that can save Nigeria for this moment.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution from Spain.
Yes.
Barrister.
Thank you, Doctor. Immunity is important, but we could also see immunity as not just immunity, but partial immunity. Because when a governor leaves office, he can be prosecuted for what he did while he's in office. Yeah. But while we have immunity is to allow the governor to govern without interference. If you start dragging a governor to the tribunal or to court every day for what he has done, and remember, governor does have opposition who could allege all sorts of things. And the only way you can find out the governor didn't do this is when the court give their verdict. And within this period,
But you remember
the state is in
the case of the Illinois governor who was found trying to corrupt the position left by Obama.
Exactly.
The man has lost his job and he went through the court process.
Yes.
You think something like that could happen in Nigeria?
It could happen in Nigeria, but the point here is that the office of a governor or the office of president is so demanding that you cannot combine it with court cases and running around. But when the person leaves office, of course, there are institutions there.
But I remember
EFCC.
the case of Osun State. Aregbesola, he has a case pending with the EFCC, and when they went to him, he put up that clause and say you cannot prosecute me now. And I'm saying that because the case is on hold, waiting till he finishes his something. So
Yeah.
we have governors who are actually utilizing that one.
Yes.
The case of Osun State governor.
But what happened to those governors that have left the office and the FCC have charged? So the immunity case, if you take it to the logical conclusion,
Yeah.
it's not the big problem.
Yes.
The reasons, as a barrister said, the reasons why the immunity clause is there, and it was borrowed from the American Constitution, so that the holder of the office can do his or her job without interference.
Yes.
If somebody has been alleged to have committed corrupt practices, as soon as he leaves office, then he can be charged.
course.
What you are talking about is the power of the recall.
Priscilla.
I that immunity in a state Nigeria or like Nigeria is welcome, because you go from state to state and you see that these governors are not effecting anything for the benefit of the people that they are supposedly there to govern. So ultimately, in order to be able to achieve something like that is welcomed. But on the other hand, in order for it to be effective, the judiciary arm of the government, they need to be able to prosecute. These people, they themselves are one of the problems that we're now having in Nigeria. Because if they do not, you take an oath when you come into office as either a lawyer or as a doctor, or, there are some things you have to abide by, so some rules and regulations. And when if they're not sitting up to do their job, because they are failing the country just as much as the governors are. Because when the EFCC brings these cases, yes, okay, you can tell me that you didn't bring sufficient evidence or what have you, but you can say, but for the fact of public interest, because it's a matter of public interest, we will go forward. I will give you more time to go and do this and do that, not throw the case out. When you completely throw out the case and you fail to prosecute, I mean, it's an embarrassment.
Then you send the wrong message.
Then you send the wrong message, and we do it.
We're going on a short break, and I want to release you to go to your job. I know that you have come to commiserate with those who have lost their loved ones and those whose loved ones are still in the hospital. You want to say on behalf of Nigerians in the UK how we feel to back to Nigeria. Please represent us, and especially to those in the profession. I happen to belong to the two, media and pastor. I've never seen such a combination in my life.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. To my people, we have to be patient. My heart goes out for all the families that has lost a loved one. Nigeria is a united country and must remain united. Boko Haram must be told that this is a war they cannot win. Nigeria is a one unit and will remain. Those who do not want us united should think again. But peace must reign. Boko Haram, please come back to the negotiating table. We need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk to you. You are part and parcel of our entity, being Nigeria. Do not kill your brothers and sisters for whatever reason you think is right. You have no such power. The Allah that you worship, Allah said, I am the most powerful and the most merciful. If Allah is powerful, he can deal with those you think have done something wrong to you. Leave it to Allah to deal with.
Thank you very much, Bryce Tanwosu. Priscilla, in one sonorous statement, tell them not to kill journalists and pastors.
Well, they're not the only ones that are dying here.
Oh, please, first of all,
but I will say,
okay.
I will say, killing innocent lives, killing the journalists, killing the pastors, killing the child, raining your machine guns on innocent people is not going to bring you the solution that you so desire. That is not the way to achieve whatever it is you're seeking. Ultimately, eventually, you will affect members of your own family, people that you also love. They too are not safe whilst you are out as a tyrant.
Today,
so
I just fear that I give you a chance. Tell them not to look at the mirror, the camera, and say it is not. Is not just good.
Well, I started my working life as a journalist, so I have an interest on this one. So it's not fair to target journalists. But then, if the attack is not on journalism alone or on the pastors or the church, the attack is on the Nigerian state. Yes. The attack is on the Nigerian people. The attack is on people from innocent citizens in Abuja. Because people have families, intermarriages. But the fact that you are doing all the killings, they are doing the killings in the north, does not mean that people from the south are not affected. So we have to think about how all
these things. The two professors are from the south.
Yeah, so the links together. So the question we need, for me personally, the question I want to pose is what is the president doing to ensure that Boko Haram has declared war on Nigeria and Nigeria needs to find the solutions to this.
Before we're going back, we're going on a short break. Please don't go away. While we go away, start thinking, how do we move forward in Nigeria? I want to thank Barrister Nwosu for coming on to this program. We very much love you and speaking and how you have taken this matter very seriously, especially for those who have lost their loved ones. When your relative says he has been called to be a pastor, tell him to pray again. See you very soon. come back to you decide. It's been a very somber mood here in the studio because of the lives lost in Nigeria concerning the Boko Haram and related matters. And we just want to continue looking at, is Nigeria a failed state according to Danjuma? What is happening? Why are we having these killings and nothing is being done to stop it? Yesterday was May Day in Nigeria and many people were marching. In Oyo State, the Oyo State government did not attend the rally of the NLC. In Osun State, the workers walked out on Aregbesola because he did not say anything about the minimum wage. In all other places, there were different kinds of reaction concerning how Nigeria is being run. But we've been told that President Jonathan visited Tinubu. Nobody knew what exactly happened, but we were told that the president went visiting Tinubu. Tinubu, 2 days after, said, no, the president did not visit me. So we really don't know what, but listen to this report. Former Lagos State Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday said he did not hold any meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan. He said he was not even in town when the supposed meeting took place. The frontline politician said there was no meeting between Lagos State Governor Fashola, the Oba of Lagos, and Jonathan. Asiwaju Tinubu spoke against the backdrop of a report that the trial met in Lagos when the president visited last weekend. He said he will meet Dr. Jonathan if their discussion will center on preferring solutions to the lingering insecurity and other national challenges. But he insisted that this should be at the president's request. The ACN national leader said much as any of such meetings are called by the president without politicizing issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have joining us now Otumba Bode Oseni. Otumba, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Now, maybe we start with you. Did President Jonathan visit Tinubu or not?
Well, it's very difficult. Welcome, yes. It's very difficult for me to know because I'm not part of the delegate of Jonathan or Tinubu.
So can we trust Tinubu because he said he never had discussion with Jonathan before the election? Now later he said yes, indeed he had one. So can we really trust him on this issue?
That's what I'm about to say. But reading from the media, it stated that it's clearly stated that Jonathan had a meeting with Tinubu and some other bigwigs in Lagos State. Whatever they are discussing, we don't know. That will come out later. But I quickly want to make an observation, Dr. Johnson. I have always taken part in this panel to speak for the people. Mm-hmm. But gradually I'm getting worried about the people. Because what I mean by that is, how on earth can a governor be arrested for corruption, about to be indicted, or these Boko Haram people are killing ordinary people, and ordinary people are now making efforts to report. But the problem here is our people, we should also stand up against injustice that have been melted against us. We should take that courage to stand up and say, what is going on here is not good enough. These people who are taking advantage of us, they are doing so because they know we will not say we are not standing up to fight for our right. The observation I want to make is this. I read in the media that one of the former governors in Nigeria went to EFCC and thousands of people thronged the area dancing and...
Is that Bukola Saraki?
Well,
Bukola Saraki was the former governor of Kwara State, now a senator. And he went to the court after a lot of drama with the police, went to court, not to the court, to SFU, we were told. And there were a lot of people in uniform dancing and saying you can't arrest. Let's say it as it is.
Yes. So I'm really worried about these Nigerians. We need to start standing up for our right. Say this is wrong. Now, I agree that most of our people have been bastardized. Their brains have been removed because of so many things that have not been given to them.
It's not for poverty. If Bukola Saraki had given them food while he was the governor.
And when people are doing this kind of thing, the question people people ask is, why are you doing this kind of thing? Why are you depriving yourself of your right? what are the improvements made during the period of this former governor in Kwara State? I know Lorin very well, and I know many other states in Osun and other places in the north. So please, all I'm trying to say here to our people, to Nigerians, is high time we need to stand up. We need to stand up and fight for our rights.
Tunde,
because these people will not fight for us.
Thank you, Otumba. Tunde, how do we handle, when Ibori was in court here, there were Nigerians who went with uniform. Free Ibori. Ibori was jailed for 13 years for stealing not less than 250 million pounds. Now, Bukola Saraki is being charged for something around 12 billion naira. And people have started dancing in front. When Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was taken to court in Abuja over having accounts abroad, there were governors and people shouting. And if you think it was a political rally, how do we get people out of this poverty mentality? Because if you have been given some little change while they were in power, then you feel obliged to come and dance in court.
I think I can recall one book that I read and talk about what they call the politics or the economy of affection. The way we run the Nigerian, whether in the private or in the public sector, is based on affection. It's not based on rationale or logic. Now
that makes sense. Affection.
So it then happens that whether you've been charged or convicted or nothing, when you come back to your own area, they see you as the leader. So they begin to celebrate. And
remember Alam, when Alam returned and John Bale from England.
So
people welcome him.
Well, the question people have not really asked themselves is that this man you are celebrating, at whose expense? This man's tomorrow, you will leave and come to London or go to America. You are still there in poverty.
But they're still celebrating, but they judge.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Economy of poverty of affection. Sorry. Go on.
So they have to begin to ask themselves, comparatively, the state here and the state of the person they are celebrating, we need to begin to ask our leader some simple questions. If somebody becomes a councillor, a chairman of a local government, or a governor is sworn into a House of Representatives today, he was driving Peugeot 505. Now he's now riding a Jeep. The question you need to ask yourself is this. Where did this man get this money?
Okay.
When he represents, who is he really representing?
Let me take this call from Manchester. It's 0161. Good morning. Who's calling?
Hello. How are you?
Yes, Alaji.
Fine, thank you.
From Manchester.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, you will be talking. We have a Skype caller. So put the Skype caller on, but you start talking, Alaji. How do you see everything happening? Tell me, how can we solve this problem? You are from the northern part of Nigeria. How do we solve this problem?
Well, this problem actually regarding the Boko Haram.
Yes.
It's becoming national, something of national
disaster.
Importance. If you consider Aziz that the National Security Advisor has echoed what the president has said, and some people are blaming him. You are not going to blame Aziza for saying that PDP is equal to Boko Haram. Because the president has said it, and the one governor, I think Islamico, is putting a lot of, is making a lot of noise about that, because Nigerians have a short memory of what the president said. So it's even worse than what Aziza said, and Aziza knows because he is the
not correct, in my own opinion. As the Nigerian problem is not discussing about who rules Nigeria in 2015. Nigerian problem is the corruption, culmination of corruption from 1960.
Oh yes.
Okay. Alaji, hold on for a Skype caller. Just stay with me. Don't go away. Okay. Stay with me. Okay, let's have the Skype caller now.
Hello. Okay, I'm holding.
Okay. Good morning, Skype caller. We're watching you.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, what's your take on this issue on Nigeria?
Right. My name is Davidson Tombury.
Yeah.
From London. It's a shame that Nigeria, with all its wealth and human intelligent resources, today we are where we are after 52 years. Our basic problem, in my take, is
indiscipline from the highest order, from the leaders down. That's
Are
why
you saying president? Be specific. Are you saying president?
the indisciplined attitude displayed by our leaders.
Okay.
That is one of the reasons why we have great corruption at the highest order, like you mentioned, that we have fake commissioners. How can you as a state don't have a record, a physical record of your recurrent expenditure like salaries and wages and who you pay? It's amazing. And he was saying, the last speaker was saying about us standing up. A lot of things are almost like impossible when you say standing up. You find out that people celebrate these ill-gotten wealth because they are all impoverished by these same people.
Okay,
So
hold on a moment from London. Let me get our man Alaji from Manchester. Yes, Manchester. Yes, Alaji, you've listened to him, yes? What other contribution?
Yeah, my question is the government is making a lot of blunders. If you consider the Al-Majri issue,
Yes.
it's not only the laws that are applying for Al-Majri. I have seen Oyo, Ogun, all they are applying to that. And what remains now is the corruption, the persistent corruption, which is worse than Boko Haram. Because how many people are dying because of lack of medicine in our hospitals? And the amount of corruption, I can't imagine. Of all people in the police station that is being nicked, up for a simple person to nick about 30 billion.
So are you supporting, Alaji, are you supporting more Al-Majri schools? Are you supporting more Al-Majri schools in your Ugondo?
Look, because if government cannot do Al-Majri, because if you say this school are truly Al-Majri school, okay, it's Sunday and Saturday are not part of Islamic calendar. It's Thursday and Friday. If the government is really, serious, we shall see those schools adopting the Islamic calendar. That there is no school on Thursday, there is no school on Friday. That is exactly.
Alaji, let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. Do you think the real problem, Alaji, hold on. Do you think the real problem of Nigeria is religion? Do you think the real problem of Nigeria is religion?
No, the real problem of Nigeria is corruption.
Oh, okay. Okay, hold on. Is our Sky caller there? Yes. Do you agree with that one?
yes, I think one of our problems is basically corruption, which stems from gross indiscipline by leaders who don't care about the people, who have no agenda at all before they get to office. All they want to do is to get to office and line their pockets with Nigerians.
Okay, how about the Al-Majri school? You think they should be introduced in the south with all the paraphernalia of Islamic religion that is going to worship on Thursday and Friday and going to school on Saturday and Sunday? You think that could be done?
I don't think so. I think Nigeria should practice true federalism, like we say Nigeria is. If they want to do that in the northern states, which is
Islamic,
which they already have, they have Islamic schools and they have secular schools. The Islamic schools may well take that on, but for the secular schools, I think we should leave it the way it is.
All right, thank you. Don't go yet. Yes, Alaji, do you agree with him?
Yeah, well, I totally disagree with him, because if you are truly adopting the Al-Majri school, the Al-Majri school calendar there is no school on Thursday and Friday, and if the government is serious, it has to go like that.
Yeah, but he said they can practice that in the north.
With Nigerians, and already in the south there is already Al-Majri school. I saw it already existing on
Oshun, I think.
This thing is becoming nationally popular.
Okay. All right. Alaji, I'm going to ask you one more question before I allow you to go. Do you think our, the challenge we are having is centered on Al-Majri, or Al-Majri school is something to keep some Muslims quiet in the northern part of Nigeria?
Well, okay, the people who, the government is trying to impress the Boko Haram.
Yes.
And that's why they bring the Al-Majri. But if you want to The advisory calendar, there is no school on Thursday and Friday.
All right.
That has to be implemented.
Okay, Alaji, thank you very much. I just have to allow you to go. Thank you, but we will be discussing. You don't stop watching because we'll be discussing what you say. Our friend from the Sky Caller, you agree? What's your last statement? Do you agree or disagree with Alaji?
Yeah, I totally disagree with Alaji because it's just like going to Saudi Arabia and you tell them to tell the king and the rest of them to go to church on Sunday. It's not going to work. So
all right. I just have to thank you. Thank you very much for calling us, Skyping us, Priscilla. Is our problem religion?
No, our problem is not just religion.
I love it to be religion. I mean, I just go and do teaching or another job, so I leave religion alone.
No. Our problem is not singular, to religion. Our problem, as it's already been said, this whole corruption issue is just killing the state. I mean, I had the privilege of speaking to our former president over the weekend, and one of the questions I put to him
we have many former presidents. Come on.
Olusegun Obasanjo.
Because right. I know you travel all over this place. So Priscilla was talking with General Olusegun Obasanjo, who many people now call Chief. Okay, tell us about Chief.
I mean, it was interesting I put a question to him, and one of my questions was, is it necessary for our governors and, commissioners and state, House of Rep, all of them, when they come into office, is it necessary for them to have some form of training or, be educated on what is required of them in office? And he said to me, well, politics is the only job he's actually seen where people get into without any formal training. They just 1 minute they are nothing. They are maybe a gardener, or as the case may be in Nigeria. 1 minute
or maybe
you're a gardener,
or
or whatever it is that you were doing, and then tomorrow you're just hijacked into this very heavy duty position that demands a lot and requires a lot. So I do agree that education is needed, not just for those that are in office.
I'm going to pause you on that. Is it not because of military intervention that we don't have developed political parties? In developed countries, political parties educate and nurture their officials until they get to Cameroon.
But that was how many years ago? Today, if, you've said that. It's true. It happened then. But even the political parties that we have emerging now, we're not having real political parties with ideologies and
ethoses. Have a one-man takes all.
What we're having is rather disgruntled members of one party now forming different parties, and they're not coming up with anything new that concerns the people. They don't have a manifesto of how we're going to handle the country. They don't have a manifesto on security, on our livelihoods, on anything. No, they are still continuing with the same format, and they're just in anger. And it's all about who should be who and what, and at the end of the day.
Otumba, I'm going to give you the last statement before we go on break. Thank you, Priscilla. I think you've given us a good insight, but I want to take you on what General Obasanjo said, Chief, because we need to talk. Yes.
Most of our leaders are wicked. Wickedness is also an ingredient in the...
I mean, if you steal the people's money, you must be wicked.
They are very wicked, and most of them need to be examined. They need to go to a psychiatric, and they need to be examined because they are very wicked. For an average leader of a country who knows that there's no running water, there's no light, there's no road, there's no school, there's no Medicare, there's nothing. And he enjoys, or they enjoy, this kind of facilities. And they still don't care about their driver, about their domestic people who work for them. This is act of wickedness. And I started by saying, to me, it's something to do with from within, spiritual development. They are the loser. Because at the end of the day, most of them cannot sleep now because they are generating so
nobody can
so
sleep in
problems.
Nigeria now. Nobody can sleep.
So those former governors and presidents and whatever, they think they are having it good. And also, another act of wickedness is for them to come to Switzerland and come there immediately. They can use their visa card. They can go to their home. This is very wicked. This is not good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's wicked as far as Otumba is concerned, and I think many Nigerians will agree with him. But you don't go away while we go on a short break. When we return, we want to conclude this message to the Nigerian polity. This corruption will take us nowhere. decide. This is the closing segment of today's program, and is centered on Nigeria's insecurity and how Nigerian leaders themselves see. T.Y. Danjuma has just said that Nigeria is a failing state, at least talking about the northern part. Others have been saying, especially Wole Soyinka in the last 48 hours, along with SNG leaders, have said the president is giving 2 weeks ultimatum, otherwise the Nigeria Kupa will return. And we in the studio, we have been praying that Boko Haram bombings and indeed any other bombing should stop. We sympathize with those who have lost their lives. We have joining us right now our own political analyst in London, Gustin Azu. Gustin, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Before I go to Soyinka's call, what's your take on what happened in the last 7 days? The bombing in BUK, Bayero University, Kanu, the bombings on Monday in Taraba, and all of these things culminating into what has been described as a failed state, that we're looking at Somalization of Nigeria.
Good morning, viewers. Before I will say anything, I would like to send my sad appreciation, condolence, and sympathy to those
Affected
Nigerians that lost their life and those who have lost members of their family in this heinous activity by the terrorist groups that are ravaging the northern part of Nigeria at the present moment. One thing I want to say basically is that there have been so many events that have been unfolding within the Nigerian society basically in the last 10, 15 years, from south-south now to the north. It's not something that one has to finger in a particular source of the problem. So many sources within individual, political, economic, social disadvantages going around in the emerging society, and knowing very well that in an emerging democracy, there's always the tendencies of insecurity, because the process of democracy.
If you are sitting face to face with President Jonathan, what will be your immediate advice to him and say, boss, something is wrong? What will be your immediate advice?
My immediate advice to him is to take a decisive action, knowing very well that within his circle are those that are really working to destroy his governance. Not himself, but those around him working assiduously to destroy his own governance.
Decisive action.
Decisive action is by making, he made one comment which everybody is working on now. Yeah, that during the early stages of these Boko Haram activities, which a lot of people anchored their anger on silently, is that he said most of those perpetrating these heinous activities or supporting these heinous activities are infiltrating into his own government. They are part of his own government. And up to this moment, he has not been able to take a decisive action to fish these individuals out and deal with them. And that has led to the utterance that was made by Major General, retired General Azazi, his main anchor, his main hope of survival in terms of security, has just made a comment, which means that there is secret belief that some people within the system are killing. But the only thing that is wrong within Azazi's comment is...
Let me ask Tunde on this one. This Azazi comment that 2015 is the one causing the trouble, that is people are lining themselves for 2015, therefore Boko Haram, they're fighting on behalf of the North. Do you really believe that is the real cause for Boko Haram? Because they said Jonathan is coming back, therefore people have... he didn't even mention Jonathan. He said because they're discussing who will be the president in 2015. Is it from South-South again? Is it from Southeast? Is it not from the North? So is this the one causing Boko Haram bombing innocent citizens? Will you believe that?
Well, I'm not in a position to know what General Azazi knows, because he's the National Security Advisor. But his analysis is right, but his conclusion is wrong. When I say his analysis is right, if you look at what happened post-election in last year or thereabout, whereby some segments of the Nigerian society are saying that they want to make the presidency of President Jonathan ungovernable. Now, one can say that if some section of Nigerian community has said that, and then you are beginning to see the manifestation of that in terms of these bombing activities, you can then conclude that they are keen in terms of who become the president in 2015. Now, definitely politics is everywhere. Politicians have to start thinking about 2015. That is their job. But what is their job in relation to ordinary Nigerians in terms of the issue that Otumba raised? It's about governance. What are they doing? What are the current governors doing? Whether in the north or in the south or in the southwest or in the south. What is the presidency himself doing? What can the president say that in the last 1 year, which is going to be 1 year now, that he assumed office, he can point to that these are the things that I've achieved in the last 1 year that I've assumed office. Each of the governors, what is their record in terms of the performance as the governor of the state? And what Danjuma said, because he said that the governor of the state are the chief security officer of the state. Each of those governors, whether in Taraba or in Gongola or in any of those states, have to be held accountable to what happened in
General
the state.
T.Y. Danjuma used to be the Minister for Defense, and he was in the Civil War. He was part of the winning team. Now, he said that the governors should be held responsible. But the Nigerian Security Advisor, General Azazi, has this to say. These are his very words. I'm bringing it to you just in case you missed that. His words. The PDP got it wrong from the beginning by saying Mr. A can rule, Mr. B cannot rule. According to the PDP convention, rules and regulations are not according to the Constitution. That created the climate of what is happening and manifesting in the country today, unquote. The NSA stressed that although he knew that the PDP would not agree with him, but that will not stop him from making the point, adding that political positions have brought a situation today whereby a particular party will say before an election that I must win 80% in an area, and when that did not happen, people will resort to violence. Now, Danjuma and Azazi, they're not speaking from the same page. Otumba.
Now, it shows clearly how dysfunctional Nigerian governance business is. This man is supposed to be a highly placed security person. People in his places in developed country, in civilized country, have no business making this kind of statement. It shows
This is an important announcement about PPI.
PPI, or Payment Protection Insurance, was missold to millions of people with loans, credit cards and mortgages from banks and other lenders. After a recent court case, banks must now repay all their customers who were wrongly sold PPI, so you could be owed thousands of pounds. You may not realise you have payment protection insurance on your loan. You must check now.
Call us now and we can find out if you have a claim. Call Just Refund.
With what Otumba has said and disagreed at the second point. The agreement I have with him in one point is the fact that Azazi has made a statement that is really fueling the greater aspect of the crisis we are going to face in the future. Because for me, and if I want to advise the Mr. President, is to ask Azazi to resign. And leave the position.
Shouldn't people
because
say the truth anymore?
No. You have the right to say the truth, but the way there is what is called diplomatic way of expressing an issue.
And not a naked way of saying the
not just opening your mouth so wide like a big lion and just open and throw the whole thing out. And you don't know how. In Nigeria, there are different ways of perceiving comments and informations. So Azazi has made a statement that is going to fuel greater crisis and confusion in Nigeria. So, for me, I would say that he should resign.
Okay.
That is what a good person would do in a developed nation.
Let's take a caller, maybe our last caller. Yes, good morning. Who is calling?
Hello, good morning.
Your name, sir. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Timothy.
From?
Yeah, I'm calling from Ireland.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you see, number one problem of Nigeria is corruption.
Yeah.
Number two is corruption. Number three is corruption.
Number 100 is corruption. Okay.
You see, what happens is that Nigeria, we need to empower our police force. Yes, we need to give power to the police, that police has every power to arrest anybody. Look at what is happening in England. Do you think that every human being on the street in England, do you think the white people are sane? They are not better than us, but the reason why they cannot be behaving the same way we are behaving back home in Nigeria is that because they know that if they do, the policeman is going to arrest them and is going to hand over them to the court, and they're going to be punished.
Yeah, look at the August riot. They are still fishing them out by CCTV. And those who have participated in August riot 1 year ago, if you are still caught, you are still good. You are right. Go on.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and by so doing, they need to put a very attractive price of very attractive salary for the police force.
But we have a challenge. We have a challenge. Sorry, Timothy. We have a challenge in Nigeria. The last recruitment of the Nigerian police force shows that nearly 50% forged their certificates to come and attend the interview. And they were arrested on the spot. So this is the challenge we have within the Nigerian police force.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, they have to make sure that whoever they're going to employ to the police force has to have the original certificate. But what I'm saying in essence is that they have to make sure they put a very attractive salary on police force, and so that
Timothy, let me tell you the extent. Let me tell you the extent of corruption. Ekiti State University, they demonstrated this last week because the university authority will not allow students who have fraudulently obtained clearance certificates. They have not paid their school fees, and somehow they got a clearance certificate, forged one, and therefore the university stopped the examination, and there was demonstration for stopping fraudulent students taking examination. There was, I mean, Nigerian system has gone that low. Not to talk of less of those who have forged National Youth Service Certificate, National Youth Service Corps certificate, or even set up a National Youth Service Corps orientation camp. I mean, that's the level we've gone.
Yeah, okay. Look at what is happening now. Look at what is happening concerning the fuel subsidy. At this stage, Alison Madueke, the Minister for Oil, supposed to have resigned. Yes, because at the time when she was she was a Minister for Oil or whatever, and all those things have been happening while she was there. So that means she's not capable enough.
Yeah. Okay. I have to thank you. Thank you very much for calling because we have limited time. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka yesterday urged Nigerians to prepare for a massive demonstration against the fuel subsidy scam. The literary icon noted that the petrol subsidy saga has brought global embarrassment to Nigeria. The eminent scholar advised the anti-graft agencies, the FCC and the ICPC, to prosecute those involved in the scam. Soyinka said the populace should be ready for another determined march against corruption. The level of thievery is not unrelated to the level of violence we witness today. The whole issue of subsidy, in all subsidy, is a scam. And many Nigerians have seen it with the result of the probe of report of House of Representatives. I want you to make a statement each. What's your position? Do you agree with Soyinka?
Well, in as much as I agree with him, I think the whole responsibility lies in the government doing what is right. Because if you look at what happened yesterday in Rivers State, when Governor Amechi was going around some of his projects, he went to a primary school, and the student alleged one of the teachers was collecting 800 naira from them before they could sit an exam. And he demanded to see the teacher, and the teacher came. He called the security operatives with him, arrest this man. They arrested him, he said prosecute him and jail him. So if he could do that instantly in the school there, instantly on the TV, I was watching it yesterday, instantly. Then it is the responsibility of government and those in government to start arresting each other, to start calling, when you go to people's bank sec office and you find out that there are some documents that are missing or some money are missing, you call your security operatives and tell them, look, this bank sec, arrest him straight away, prosecute him and jail him. And if a president go to a state and find out that some project he has been mentioning and shouting that he's been doing, and the project is not done, and the money is not there, and no clarification, he should call his security operatives that are following him, arrest this governor, put him through prosecution and jail him. This is the way we can get things right.
In one statement. What Amechi did is very good. But I can say
everybody should follow him.
Yes, they should follow his example. But what Professor Wole Soyinka is saying is also fantastically correct, and we must stand up to do that, because we need to remind most of these our heartless leaders wicked leaders who are not doing what is good for the people, we must stand up to them and remind them that this is our right. This all subsidy thing, we also discussed it here, that is a scam. There's nothing like all subsidy anyway. Now that they want to do it, so Wole Soyinka, welcome. We need to stand up and remind federal government that if you did not do what you have to do, we will stand up to you.
We have 2 weeks to the ultimatum of Wole Soyinka. What do you say?
Well, I think Wole Soyinka is right in terms of agitating for Nigerians. But for me, the parting shot for me would be, what would the record of President Jonathan would be? Out of 4 years, he has already spent more or less 1 year. He only has 3 years of, technically speaking, 2.5 years to do. What if he were to write his record today? What will he be? Because he has to start writing the legacy he's going to leave for Nigeria. Is he going to leave Boko Haram for Nigeria, or is he going to leave the lack of power, or lack of electricity, or lack of water for Nigeria? Those are the challenges and the question he needs to ask himself.
Well, from this program, you decide. We would like to appeal to Boko Haram that while you are aggrieved, and perhaps you are right to be aggrieved on the economic situation, political situation of Nigeria, we want to appeal to you. Please don't bomb churches, don't bomb mosques, don't bomb anybody. Why don't you just go ahead and have a roundtable discussion with the government? You can maintain your position, but bombing and killing innocent citizens will definitely not give the solution. We appeal to you, Boko Haram. Take this seriously from the Nigerians in diaspora. Let these bombings and killings stop in the name of your God. And we believe that something good will happen out of a dialogue, discussion, and whatever your grievances. And many of us have got many grievances. The way Nigeria has been run in the last 52 years, I tell you, many grievances. Many should not even stand political stance, talk less of being governor or taking political position. But killing any innocent citizen, killing anybody will not be the solution. On behalf of journalists and pastors, please do not kill them anymore. My name is Shegun Johnson. Till next Wednesday, it's been a Samba Talk here from You Decide.